O Parayerigo and Shnuragelutun. My wonderful Armenian friends, in my few words, I want to offer 3 brief tributes and messages of gratitude. First, I want to honor and thank the courage of the valiant Armenian people for holding front lines of faith and freedom over the centuries, most recently in the horrific war in Artsakh, where your people defended your historic land under apparently impossible odds. I was there. I saw you defend your land with hunting rifles against tanks. I went there many times with my great brother, Zori Balayan. I was in Stepanakert when I used to count 400 Grad missiles a day raining in on that little city. So many of your people gave their lives, including the hero Montel Williams, whom it was my privilege It was my great privilege, which I'll never forget, to meet him many times on the field of battle. My friends, the rest of the world who are non-Armenians owe a debt of gratitude to the Armenian people for holding a front line of faith and freedom for the rest of the world. Thank you from us non-Armenians. Secondly, I wish to pay tribute to the spirit of the people of Armenian. I always say, as a people, you not only survive, but you create beauty from the ashes of destruction. There's only time for one example. I could give hundreds of the way you create beauty from the ashes of destruction. There's one little example. After the battle for Lachin, that little town, the Lachin corridor, essential, opening that corridor for the passage of goods and urgently needed supplies into Artsakh, which before had to be taken by helicopter under fire. I'd like to pay a tribute to the helicopter pilots. I traveled with them many times under fire, and I always wear a lovely little tribute they gave me of a heart. That's from the helicopter pilots, some of whom died, keeping open the corridor by air. But when the corridor into Lachin by road was opened, then there was no longer need to depend on the helicopter pilots. But the battle for Lachin was a fierce and horrendous battle. I went through fairly soon after the battle for Lachin. As a town, it was completely destroyed. But there I saw the spirit of Armenia. The first place that you restored, the first building you restored, was, of course, the beautiful church, which welcomes visitors to Artsakh as you come into your holy land. Secondly, you restored the hospital. And I have a photograph which I treasure, myself holding a newborn baby. The window in the background just goes on to complete rubble. The tomb was destroyed. And then the third building you restored, and only Armenians would have done this, was your art gallery. Buildings were in ruins, homes had no roofs. You restored your art gallery. And when I visited that, when that art gallery was still surrounded by the rubble of people's homes, it was already full of beautiful paintings on display. Paintings that had come in from Yerevan, paintings painted by local people. That's the spirit of Armenia, creating beauty in the ashes of destruction. We give so many more examples, but minutes do not allow. My third tribute is to a different kind of beauty arising from the ashes of destruction. The amazing, inspirational rehabilitation center in Stepanakert. When the ceasefire was signed way back in '94, we asked the Karabakh authorities their priorities for aid as we moved from emergency medical supplies needed in war. Their response, please help for people with disabilities. Disability was massively stigmatized in the former Soviet Union. There was no provision of help for people with disabilities. They were warehoused, marginalized, would die of pressure sores. Your people, deeply civilized people, wanted better. You needed everything. You needed food, you needed medicine, you needed rebuilding. But you chose help for people with disabilities. What a civilized choice that was. The only building they were able to provide was a bombed-out old school. There were no buildings in Stepanakert which were not bombed out. The hero of the piece, Vardan Tadevosyan, and his team of brilliant nurse specialists have transformed that bombed-out old ruin into an internationally recognized center of excellence, providing transformational treatment for over 1,000 patients a year. And just other developments, there's a new unit just been opened last year for children with autism. And there's outreach provision, centers around the different regions in Artsakh for patients who cannot reach Stepanakert. It is a real place of hope and healing. And that center has achieved international recognition as a center of excellence, with experts in rehabilitation now coming from abroad to visit it. I only have time for 2 examples. Last year, the International Committee of the Red Cross actually sponsored a rehabilitation expert to visit from Japan. Japan to Artsakh. Isn't that wonderful? And in the near future, 2 professionals will be coming from Kyrgyzstan to work there. You are an internationally recognized, renowned center of excellence. But the most wonderful part of Vardan's transformational program for me is to see the smiles on the faces of people who thought they would never smile again. Just one example. Many years ago now, a young boy who was paralyzed from the waist down was told by specialists in Yerevan and Moscow that he would never walk. When I used to try to speak to him when he was in his wheelchair, I used to bend down to look up into his face. I could never get a smile from him. I could understand why. He was told he'd never walk. But the next time I visited Artsakh, I actually walked past him. I didn't recognize him. He was standing. And on a subsequent visit, when we took a pilgrimage of wonderful supporters into Artsakh, he came with us. He walked for much of the way, and he never stopped smiling. That's the achievements of the Rehabilitation Center. And Vardan and his team have created this internationally renowned center in Artsakh. And we hope, and this is very exciting, they may be able to introduce their vision, the philosophy, and the practice of care for people with disabilities away far beyond the confines of Artsakh. They already spread it into Georgia and Abkhazia and Chechnya and Ossetia, other places in the South Caucasus. But that vision is now spreading further and further, and possibly into Myanmar, or we prefer to call it Burma, our partners call it that, with another of Heart's inspirational partners, Dr. Sasa, who comes from the remote Chin Hill tribes of northwestern Burma, really remote stuff. I met Sasa studying medicine in Yerevan in what was by now his 6th language. That's another story for another day. But Burma resembles the former Soviet Union in lack of respect for and care for people with disabilities, heavily stigmatized, no provision. Now we hope there is a program which will enable Vardan to help to bring help and healing for people with disabilities. It will be transformational for them, transformational for Burma, and what a wonderful ambassador for the spirit of Armenia, going from the little land of Artsakh to possibly transform the care of people with disabilities in that land of Burma. That's the spirit of you Armenian people. You see why I love you so much? So, as I conclude, I want to thank you with all my heart for the support you are providing for Vardan's amazing work, for your people, with your people in Artsakh, and reaching countless people in need far beyond your little holy land of Artsakh. One day, when I was congratulating Vardan on his amazing achievements, he replied very humbly and very simply, "You gave me the wings so I could fly." Well, that's a humble response, but I want to thank you with all my heart for giving him even stronger wings so he can fly even higher. Indeed, he can soar like the eagles that soar over the beautiful mountains of your holy land of Artsakh, which I love and where my heart resides. Thank you. Shmur Galatin.